Welcome to the Dave Mierswa Show, the cutting-edge talk show about legal, political, and current issues. Practicing in both Wisconsin and Illinois, David Mierswa is a leading trial attorney bringing nearly 2 decades of business law, family law, personal injury, and estate planning experience to you. The Dave Mierswa Show, about the people, for the people, and bringing justice to the people. The Dave Mierswa Show, its guests, agents, and WRLR are not rendering any legal advice. All listeners are encouraged to seek legal advice from properly licensed and qualified professionals.
Good afternoon. I hope everyone is having a great Sunday. Looks like the sun came out for 5 minutes today and then decides to go underneath the clouds. And, thank God in the studio here we have a curtain so you can't look outside. I don't know if it's raining out or sunny or not. I looked out about 10 minutes ago. Welcome to the Dave Mierswa Show. I am your host, attorney Dave Mierswa. I've been an attorney for almost 20 years. I'm bringing you live show today starting at 12 noon. So buckle in and let's get ready for a great show today. I got a great topic that I'm going to do a follow-up on. And I tell you, this show, if you heard the beginning of the show, it's a show about the people, for the people, and bringing justice to the people. I am on a mission to bring diverse opinions, debate them, and educate people on cutting-edge topics. Okay, one of them today is an update on the VA scandal and what's going on. A lot of the Democratic politicians want this item, they want this issue to be brushed underneath the carpet, and I am going to be talking about the VA scandal and keeping this scandal and the issues that surround it alive and in the forefront. Okay, so I already kind of revealed what my topic was going to be today. I want to do a couple shout outs here today. Again, for all you new listeners, this is a live show. I'm on every Sunday at 12 noon. So also, there is a WRLR app out there for your smartphone. So all you have to do is upload it and you can listen for free. So that is pretty cool. The app works really good on your phones. So my background, as I stated, I've been a lawyer for almost 20 years. I do a lot of civil law and around Lake County and around the Chicago greater area. Also, all of my shows are uploaded to law540.com, law540.com. Usually within 24 hours, I have an IT assistant that does that. And also, I am videotaping this, and usually within 2 or 3 days, all of my shows are uploaded to YouTube. So all you have to do is put in the search box, Dave Mierswa, Mierswa, and all my shows come up. So let me get my shout outs out of the way and then I'm going to get right into the show. So my first shout out is always about animals. My life and my wife have dedicated our lives to rescuing, saving, and placing animals in their forever home. If you didn't hear that, that was forever, F-U-R-R, forever home. You get it? Reach Rescue, located in Mundelein, Illinois, has an adoption center. They are a non-kill, non-for-profit animal shelter. Right next door is a resale shop where they sell a lot of donated goods, and most of that money goes towards saving animals. I can't think of a higher cause than saving animals and having a voice for people and animals that can't speak for themselves. Also, right about a couple miles down the road here on Fairfield Road is Save a Pet. Save a Pet has a great adoption center there. So today, if you are looking at getting an animal, stop in there, folks, and rescue an animal from a shelter. I can't think of a higher cause than that. Also, I have a couple PSAs here. Wakanda Township Historical Society is presenting WGN radio hosts Steve King and Johnny Putman to discuss their new book with a Q&A and signing the following on Sunday, June 5th, 2 to 4 p.m. at Wakanda Township Hall, and that's located at 505 Looks like Bonner Road in Wakanda, Illinois. So that looks like a Q&A for their book that came out, radio hosts Steve King and Johnny Putman, and that's Sunday, June 5th to the 4th. Also, Lamb's Farm is having a champion car show. It is the 4th annual Lamb's Farm Champion Car Show from Sunday, 10 to 3 p.m., June 5th. And all makes and models of trucks, cars, and bikes are welcome. Location and phone information is 14245 West Rockland Road, Libertyville, Illinois. Telephone number 847-362-4636. Again, 847-362-4636. And that's by the intersection of I-94 and Route 176. Okay, those are all of my shout outs here today. I want to get right into my show. There was an article that came out on May 30th. And this article was by fox6now.com, and it was written by Theo Keith. So I always try to give credit where credit's due. And there's no higher cause as well as someone that takes time to write an article. You should always try to give credit, and that's the same thing with videos as well. So this article by Theo Keith says that Senator Ron Johnson was set to release a 350-page report on painkiller scandal in Toma, Virginia. So let me kind of get into some of the details on this. And I believe it's not Toma, Virginia. I believe it was Toma, Wisconsin, if I'm understanding that correctly. So a lot of the people that were involved with this VA scandal have, to date, as far as I know, have not been prosecuted civilly or, more importantly, criminally. And veterans are dying every day from the lack of medical and also mental treatment for PTSD. About 3 or 4 months ago, must have been maybe a little longer than that. You can go to my website, law540.com. I had a veteran on of the name Dan Jakes. He is brothers with David Jakes, who has a radio show on called Cast and Blast that's on every Saturday, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. But a big thank you to Dan Jakes. He came on my show, and I did 3 radio shows on him. And what was really unique about Dan was that he was a veteran here, located right here in Lake County. And back in the 70s, he was involved with a terrorist attack in Germany. So a lot of you friends and listeners out there, terrorism has a long, long, dark history going back hundreds of years. So it's not a new phenomenon. The instant tweeter and the video footage, that's more of a modern twist. But Dan, who I believe was in the Army, and a bomb went off. And this was when he was stationed in Germany. And he thought that after recovering, or in the process of recovering from that terrorist attack, that you would think that his fight would be over. And that was just the beginning of the fight with Dan in the VA. He could not seek, every time he would go in, there was always a long waiting list. There were resources that were not available for him to recover. And, back in the 70s and 80s, they don't have the mental trauma and treatment and therapy that they do today. So his experience with the VA, he had some good experiences. So I'm not going to throw the VA underneath the bus completely. And when I say the VA, I'm not talking about all the dedicated nurses and all the dedicated doctors. I'm talking about the VA administration at the federal level, okay? That's whom I am attacking, and that's who I am placing blame, okay? And also the acting president of the United States. Okay, and also Bush was to blame under this as well. So it's not like I'm going to place this solely on Obama. But anyway, Dan Jake's journey didn't end. After leaving Germany, he came back to the U.S. and he was facing an onslaught of medical issues and healthcare issues all the way from the 1970s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s, all the way up until today. And here's the thing. Dan had to hire an attorney to go with him to a local VA center just to get treatment. That would have saved his life. In fact, that's the only thing that saved his life. So my previous shows, again, go to Law 540 to catch that show. And it was amazing. He had to get an attorney to go fight to get his medical benefits so he could actually try to live a normal life. Folks, I don't know about you, but any kind of government service, in particular with our service men and women who have served this country and put their lives on the line, I can't think of a higher cause and owed to them and their families are the VA benefits, including medical treatment and mental treatment that they should get. And there shouldn't be these waiting list lines, and it is ridiculous. And I got some really good audio clips on what's been going on with that. And but basically, over the last 2 years, 2.5 years since the scandal first broke in 2014, of these lists that were created and veterans actually died in wait of medical treatment, some good things have been done, but a lot of work still needs to be done. So anyway, with this article that I was talking about, there's a Veterans Affairs Medical Center in Tomah, Wisconsin. And there's a report that's due to be released coming up rather soon. But here's the scandal. There was a veteran up there, and this VA, this particular VA hospital, was dispensing drugs. And again, this is all allegations. But there was a staff up there, and a staff chief who was basically dispensing drugs that were really not too regulated by the doctors. And there was a nickname of this one individual, and his name was Candyman, for handing out all of these drugs and not following up on with the veterans. And anyway, in 2014, there was a Marine veteran named Jason, oh man, his last name, Simkakowski. I think I got it pretty close. And he died of an overdose because of the easy access to the drugs. And you never heard about this from any time before. You know, everything in the media kind of comes and goes. But anyway, this article came out on May 30th, 2016. And a huge problem with some of the staff up there, and apparently with the dispensing of drugs without a tighter regulation on it. And right now, about 2 weeks ago, it broke nationally that there are a lot of painkiller centers out there that are dispensing a lot of these painkillers by the millions. And it's getting literally hundreds of thousands of Americans addicted to prescription drugs. So I don't know if that was one of the side effects or not from the pharmaceutical industry, but it's something to be aware of. But anyway, the Justice Department and the FBI is looking into it, and as of this point, I don't think anyone has been charged in his death. And in fact, one of the other things I want to bring up is that every day American veterans are committing suicide. And I know everyone this summer wants to go to their concerts and have a barbecue, and it's Sunday, and you want to take some time off with the family. But this show is a hard-hitting topic, an in-your-face topic. And one of them is our veterans are committing suicide as well. And it is just something to be aware of. So let me play my first audio clip here. There's a gentleman named Duffy who is going to talk about the Wisconsin VA scandal and what he has to say on that. And that's from a local station, Fox News. So let me cue that up for you here.
We are tonight investigating claims of a cover-up involving one Senate Democrat after the deaths of 3 patients at a VA hospital. Senator Tammy Baldwin learned of the allegations that the patients were being over-medicated back in August, but reportedly failed to do anything until several months later. Now she has retained a lawyer after questions were raised about not only her response, but whether she tried to cover it up. Mike Tobin has the background on this for us from Chicago.
Martha, staff believed that powerful drugs were overprescribed at this VA in Wisconsin. The Office of the Inspector General concluded in a report that an unusually high number of opioids were prescribed at this facility. The practice wasn't stopped, and veterans paid the price. U.S. Marine veteran Jason Simkoski went to the Toma VA to be treated for drug addiction. In August of 2014, his father visited and found Jason in a drug-induced stupor. His father complained to the staff, but later that day, Jason died. The autopsy determined his death was caused by the combination of 15 drugs in his system.
The part I regret is leaving him there. I didn't realize that he was going to pass away. You know, I never thought he was that bad. I mean, he was just in a mental health floor, you know, getting his medication adjusted, and you know, I wish I would have never left him that day.
Ryan Honnell, a former secretary at the VA, says the hospital had the nickname Candyland because everyone knew drugs were overprescribed, but the staff was afraid to speak up.
It was well known within the Toma facility, if you raise issues, you will find your way out of the facility.
Honnell reached out to elected officials in Wisconsin, but a lot of attention is now focused on the Democratic U.S. Senator out of Wisconsin, Tammy Baldwin, because her office received the OIG report, according to Honnell, did not immediately take action. Senator Baldwin's office says she only received the report in August of 2014, right about the time Simkoski died. And her office points to a chain of letters she sent inside the VA as action she took. However, Senator Baldwin only reached out to the secretary of the VA last month and asked the Attorney General to intervene this month. Martha, back to you.
All right, thanks to Mike Tobin. Also with us now, Wisconsin Republican Sean Duffy, member of the House Financial Services Subcommittee on Oversight and Investigations. He is one of the lawmakers who called for this field hearing into Senator Baldwin. Mr. Duffy, Representative Duffy, good to have you here tonight. You know, what do you think she's guilty of here? And she says that her office sent back letters, but the whistleblower basically said that they reached out several times, and it took from summer until really January to get any kind of action on these 3 people's loss of life.
So, Martha, this is an incredibly sad story that continues the chain reaction of stories that have come out about mismanagement of our Wisconsin National VA system. So a year ago, actually, in March of last year, constituents had reached out to Senator Baldwin to let her know there were problems at the VA. And she did receive the report in the fall, and she didn't do anything. And that could have been an honest mistake, but she hasn't talked about that. The real issue here, Martha, is the fact that Senator Baldwin fired the staffer that was working on this case, and then tried to use taxpayer money as hush money for that staffer so she wouldn't talk about what happened. And what's happening here in this story is that the focus and the cover-up is on Tammy Baldwin instead of focusing on what's going on in the Wisconsin VA. I mean, we've had several veterans die. You mentioned that the Toma VA was referred to as Candyman. The lead doctor who was prescribing these drugs, he was referred to as the Candyman. And this information was brought out, and no one did anything until it was made public by a media report, especially Senator Baldwin.
That is the responsibility of representatives. I mean, that is part of their job. When things are brought to their attention, they have a responsibility to follow up on it. And this other part of the story, as you just mentioned, is very strange. In what way did she how did she try to use taxpayer money to hush this woman up? quickly if you can.
Well, she offered a severance package with taxpayer money and made a requirement that she not talk about the case. So that's what she did. And the problem here is she's not telling us what she knew and when she knew it, and which has made this scandal that much bigger than just the significant deaths of our men and women who raised their hand to serve the country.
No, doesn't sound like this one's going away. We'll
Sad
stay on it.
story.
Thank you very much, Representative.
So that was a news clip from Fox News, and you heard it, that veteran died as a result. He went into the local VA in Wisconsin for drug addiction and actually had 15 different kinds of drugs in him. And his father was worried about him, and he ended up overdosing and dying as a result. And this story, this senator, allegedly Tammy Baldwin, knew about all the things that were going on at this VA center, and yet she chose not to broadcast it, and she chose to do nothing about it. And that's a huge problem in itself. And here, there was a cover-up with her, which, that's a side story. You know, we have to get back to what was the main issue here. And the main issue, again, was the cover-up at a local VA, and the staff at the local VA was afraid to come forward because of the retaliation that could possibly happen. And the workers that, and the employees that are just working there, the all day-to-day nurses, aides, and all of the lower administration are afraid to speak up. They are trying to just go and help out as many veterans as they can and trying to carve out a living for themselves. And they are just trying to survive like everyone else. But again, there has been an atmosphere within this current administration that if you open your mouth and become a whistleblower, they will turn on you. And I myself, I have experienced this as an outspoken attorney, and I get this all the time. Even in a courtroom, I will fight for my clients' rights, but I've experienced that where you get groupthink within a courtroom and with other lawyers, and they're afraid to speak out. And I felt that pressure, and about every couple of months I run into that, where judges and attorneys are sometimes afraid to act and so forth. But in this particular case, this poor veteran died as a result, and he went in for drug addiction treatment. So it's just sad. Here is another audio on Wisconsin, and let's see if we can learn a few more facts here. And this is from NewsTube.
With a U.S. Senate committee probe of a painkiller abuse scandal at a VA facility in western Wisconsin that veterans referred to as Candyland because of the free flow of prescription drugs has turned up systemic failures in an inspector general's review of the facility. The report, released Tuesday on the Tomah Veterans Affairs Medical Center by the Republican majority of the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, found the VA Inspector General's office discounted evidence and testimony, needlessly narrowed its inquiry, and has no standard for measuring wrongdoing. The office's failure to publish results of an investigation into the Tomah facility, which found that 2 providers there had been prescribing alarming levels of narcotics, compromised veteran care, the Senate report found. Releasing the Inspector General's report would have forced VA officials to publicly address the problem and ensure there was follow-up, the Senate report said. Instead, the Inspector General's office briefed local VA officials and closed the case. The Senate report's findings show the Inspector General's office needs to clean house, said Wisconsin Sen. Ron Johnson, chairman of the committee. Johnson was presiding over a field hearing in Tomah on Tuesday. Sloan Gibson, Deputy Secretary of the VA, and Michael Missel, who took over as Inspector General for the VA last month, were both slated to testify at the hearing. U.S. Sen. Ron Johnson, R.W.I.S. Right, speaks in 2015 during a joint hearing of the Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs.
Okay, so there's a few more facts on this local VA hospital that happened up in Toma, Wisconsin. I was born and raised in Wisconsin, and you know, all your friends and listeners, you know, you think that this stuff is happening like out in Virginia and New York, and this VA scandal is happening right around us. And Dan Jakes had a problem with the local VA here in Lake County. So this stuff is happening right around us. So and you have to be aware of it. Let's hear what Trump has to say on the VA scandal as well, and then we're going to cut and go to break.
Now to the race for the White House, and Donald Trump using Memorial Day weekend to hammer home his disgust with the VA. And Bernie Sanders is on the attack, declaring war against the presumptive GOP nominee and the DNC. Kristen Fisher live for us in Washington following these developments. Kristen, good morning to you.
Good morning, Abby. Well, Donald Trump is slamming the VA this Memorial Day weekend. He says the U.S. takes better care of people here illegally than they do their own veterans. Now, Trump made these comments at that Rolling Thunder's Ride for Freedom yesterday, right here in Washington, D.C. Now, Trump's had a rocky relationship with veterans ever since he made that comment about Senator John McCain way back at the beginning of his campaign. But yesterday, he got lots of applause for pledging to rebuild our military, protect the Second Amendment, and take care of our veterans.
Of our vets, our most cherished people. Thousands of people are dying, waiting online to see a doctor. That is not going to happen anymore. And if there's a wait, we're going to give the right for those people to go to a private doctor or even a public doctor and get themselves taken care of, and we're going to pay the bill.
And that was Trump's only event this Memorial Day weekend. Hillary Clinton had none, but Bernie Sanders is not taking the weekend off. He's had 5 rallies in California since Saturday, and he has 2 more scheduled for today. Sanders is continuing to slam Clinton, but this weekend he saved his sharpest attacks for Trump, essentially accusing him of being a chicken for refusing to debate him.
If you are afraid of a fair and free and open election, get out of politics, get another job. And I say to Donald Trump, you're a big macho guy. If you have any guts, come on down and let's debate the issue.
Sanders also accused the Democratic nominating process of being not rigged, but, quote, dumb. He told Democratic leadership yesterday that if you want to beat Trump, I'm your candidate. Heather?
Kristen Fisher live for us. Thank you, Kristen.
So that's Bernie Sanders and actually attacking Trump, but not really talking about the VA scandal and what's going on. And you heard from Trump. Also, Trump did raise close to $6 million, and the media attacked him just relentlessly. And but he handled it, he handled it in a truly good fashion. So I'm going to cut the break here, and we're going to be back in a couple of minutes, and I'm going to continue on with my show about 2016 update on the VA scandal. So I got Obama addressing the scandal. I have Bernie Sanders, and I have a couple of clips here from Hillary as well. So I will see you on the flip side of the break.